again. As the chairperson of the working group for this panel discussion and the session of the working group under the coordinating council of the tax services of countries members of the Commonwealth of Independent States, I'm starting this panel. It is an offline meeting because it's a very good opportunity. It's a sort of family circle here in Hospital Tatarstan, and panel discussions take place within the framework of the forum Russia, the Islam. We're a multinational state. We have a lot of different nations and confessions in this country, and we're going to talk about client centricity. We see people representing CIS countries, and our cooperation covers people of different confessions and nationalities. It's a good thing that in this lively and active dialogue we'll be able to share best practices in tax administration matters. We do it on a regular basis. We not only share best practices, we pick up the best cases and improve tax administration based on the best case scenarios. It's my pleasure to greet a representative from Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyz Republic, as well as representatives of the Executive Committee of CIS and our experts who represent the analytical center under the government Russia, and also our colleagues from the Academy of National Economy and colleagues from the business community of PAO KAMAZ. Operations of our group is directly linked to international cooperation. We exchange our experience based on best practices of the world. We try to to avoid double taxation. We look into the matters of opposing bad faith taxpayers, and deputy head of the Russia's tax service, Madam Shepela, will be our first speaker. She's responsible for international cooperation, and it's thanks to her efforts Russia is actively involved in the multilateral interaction with different international institutions. Your round of applause. Good morning, dear colleagues. I see a lot of familiar faces in this room. We're going to hear in the excellent city of Kazan in Hospital Russia. Kazan is a splendid city. It's a very beautiful city and a very hospitable one. And they can offer you very tasty dishes, by the way. We see a lot of things, must-see things in this city. I expect that you have a very challenging schedule, but please find time and visit the excellent places of sightseeing of this beautiful city. Dear friends, we have a very important panel discussion here, and I'm happy that a variety of colleagues from different republics, former USSR republics, are here Indeed, we have people from 7 countries here. 2 countries are joining us online. I do not know whether they have connected or not already. When I visited all these countries, so far I have not visited Armenia and Azerbaijan, but I hope I will do it soon. I may say that all our colleagues from Internal Revenue Services are devoted professionals who look deeply into these matters, and when we consider the agenda of client centricity, we must emphasize that it is very important for taxation administrations. The basic values of the government of Russia, if in a nutshell, this is a state for human being, not the other way around. And this area is a very important area for development. We're also taxpayers, by the way, and let us try to achieve a situation where we both as tax services employees and taxpayers uh, treat the work of tax administration employees with respect, and on the other hand, we tax service employees, we should have respect for our clients, our taxpayers. I wish you a very productive work day, and will be here present at this discussion. Later on, we're going to visit the stand of the Russia's tax service. We're going to visit also the stand of our IT partner who provides IT support for all tax services of Russia. Marat Adipovich, our hospitable head of the tax service of Tatarstan. Good morning, dear friends. First and foremost, I would like to thank organizers, the Federal Tax Service, in your person, Irina Yulia Vячеславовna, and the team of organizers for this opportunity to greet our dear guests here in hospitable Tatarstan in the 1,000-year-old city of Kazan. This event is, on the one hand, a great responsibility and a great honor for us. A few words about our republic. Tatarstan today is a leader of the Russian Federation in terms of social and economic development. The gross regional product last year was 4.3 trillion rubles. That's number 6 in the Russian Federation. If we discuss the core industries of the Russian Federation, manufacturing is number 5, agriculture number 5, construction industry were number 2 after Moscow only. And in the recent years, if you will look at the index which determines efficiency of investment, we rank number 2 again, with only Moscow ahead of us. Generally, Tatarstan is an oil-producing region, but on top of upstream and downstream, we have a variety of highly effective industries. We are building aircraft now, both fixed wing and rotary wing. We're building river vessels and machine tools, and also we are very active in IT industry. We are expanding our tax base. We we collected 1.3 trillion rubles. That's again as taxes, number 6 again in the Russian Federation. To achieve faithful and good and open relations with our taxpayers, we offer very effective and transparent solutions. You know that our services has over 70 interactive services, which allows taxpayers to learn all relevant information and to pay taxes just with a click of the finger. We have new special tax regimes which allow to pay taxes without significant paperwork. As a result, in Q1, the portal Your Control, we see that our taxpayers are 100% satisfied. I couldn't believe this figure, but it proved true. Therefore, we believe that to calculate the amount of taxes in the old fashion will be a waste of time. We'll try to improve the technology of this process, and we'll make our best efforts so that your stay in the city will be both productive and comfortable. Well, we hope that you will retain the memory of Kazan forever. And just a short video about Kazakhstan. A variety of art styles, poetry, cooking, and history produce a very surprising effect. See a mix of all these varieties in one region. Tatarstan is a rapidly developing area of Russia. We produce helicopters and aircraft. We are an oil producing and refining territory. We pay a lot of attention to our multi-ethnicity culture. We have scores of museums and theories, parks. Bulgar and Grad-Sviazhsk are the best sightseeing places. Millions of tourists visit the Republic of Tatarstan annually. The scalp head, the scalp cap, which is now a national headgear, a symbol of Tatarstan. It is a very beautiful headgear which embodies the centuries old history of our republic. We are an example of how people of different nations live in peace together. And just visit Tatarstan just to learn a few words in the Tatar language. Rahimit, I guess, welcome. Thank you very much. And I join in these words of thanks, which Yulia Vyacheslavona said. You are a very hospitable host. You've given us the most warm welcome. And, well, we thank you from our heart. Izuri Rahmat, because, well, it's very nice that we see each other offline, and it's very nice that I can invite you to my native city of Kazan.
Okay, wonderful morning, wonderful weather. Colleagues, our task force and our legitimate existence and interaction will not be possible without the executive committee of CIS. And I would like to give the floor to Ekaterina Arkadьевna. The floor is yours. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the CIS, I would like to greet you all here. This is a task force which is dealing with client centricity. And I would like to express my gratitude to the Federal Tax Service of the Russian Federation, the same tax service of Tatarstan, for your warm welcome. On the 8th of December 2023, CIS marked its 32nd anniversary. And we are aligned by the common culture, by our general strive to add and contribute to the well-being of our population. And so we are interacting within CIS very actively, thus providing reliability, stability, and sustainability of the economy within the global context. Let me give you some statistics. The GDP grew up by 4%, and as to the industrial output, that is 3.6, the trade turnover 6.6, wages growth 11 to 17% YOY. This year, the Russian Federation is presiding over CIS, and with due regard to this mission of Russia in 2024, approved by the President of the Russian Federation, Mr. Putin. So we are supposed to strengthen and deepen up the integration processes at the Eurasian space. The recent council of the recent Security Council, which took place in Russia, it has mentioned that more and more attention will be paid in the future. And the tax systems of CIS countries are to be aligned and harmonized. And this is the very important venue for opinion exchange, for plans of the follow-up development, as well as the integration processes in the sphere of tax harmonization within the framework of the RF presidency. And I should say that our task force is one of the best in the context of the CIS development, and that was analyzed in 2023 quite profoundly, and all the tasks set are being implemented quite successfully. Overall, we have 7 task forces, and we have online and offline format for our interaction, and on a regular basis we have video conferences, a meeting of experts, and other pertinent meetings. And the professionals take part in that events, and we are very well focused and concentrated on the subject matter of our task force. And the supreme bodies adopted 6 important documents, the protocol, intergovernmental, and 5 analytical documents. And this year, we are supposed to implement the protocol on the information exchange electronically in order to exercise the tax administration measures. And today's event is a wonderful opportunity to implement best practices, exchange best practices for client centricity at the public level. And I'm absolutely positive that the decisions made will strengthen our cooperation at the intergovernmental level, as well as in the sphere of tax policy and tax administration. And it will contribute to the well-being of our population. And so client centricity is very beneficial for the taxpayers of CIS. And we are talking about the confidence and trust to our partners in cooperation. I wish you good luck, very beneficial cooperation, partnership relations, and all the best and success in attaining your goals. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, Ekaterina Arkadyevna. Indeed, we are I am a chair of this task force. Already we have implemented all our tasks. And what are we going to do in the foreseeable future? Please download our presentation, dear colleagues. And our group was adopted and approved within the course of the meeting in Belarus in 2022, when we identified all the key tasks and embedded it in the protocol. And so the key goal is to exchange best practices in the sphere of the improving of internal and external communications, exchange analytical data and systematization, getting feedback from taxpayers and general public and legal entities. And indeed, we are cooperating quite successfully with the associated companies, as the tax administration is quite a complicated process, and without the harmonized practices, it becomes impossible to operate in that sphere, especially at the federal and regional level. The task of our group is to study the users' expertise, and Marat told us about it. And we are on the road of digitalization, and that is all due to the classical approach at the very start of the 2000s. And we altogether started initiating certain services, generating the data, but that is not suffice, and we are talking about the service orientation as the new era. And also the launch or re-engineering processes for services on the basis of the comments and recommendations of the general public and scholar community. So we have to respond to all those inquiries and also improve the system of interaction. As of September 22, we've been dealing with that particular process, and the client centricity is a key factor for the federal governance. A special microclimate is necessitated for that, and we need to find out the opinion of our employees. If our staff is unhappy, our taxpayers will also be unhappy. Thus, we are accumulating the best practices in interacting with our staff. In 2023, we got together twice, and it was a video conference, and offline is a rarity. And it's a good luck to see you all here. And so we discussed where to start from and what to do in terms of client centricity in tax administrations. It was quite a new venture, and some thought it was something irrelevant, and the public sector should be adapted to the public opinion and taxpayers' opinion. We'll also discuss the system of feedback, and in addition, we also studied the instruments of client centricity communication of our external and internal services. And in September, we discussed an issue of feedback which becomes absolutely indispensable. Client centricity may be identified as the work with inquiries, and if you don't ask anything, you couldn't do your job properly. So the feedback becomes substantial from the part of a taxpayer. And if you work with a client, taking into account the feedback, and that's the real art. And also the feedback should be well interpreted, properly interpreted, and actually we have to analyze the results of the feedback and also aggregate this data, whether the clients are satisfied with due regard to their interaction with the tax office. And this year we discussed the system of communication at the level of tax bodies, and also some had advanced practices to share. And as of 2023, we are not closed, we are open for the business community while discussing these issues, and we invite some independent experts. And in 2023, we approved the methodology of that sort, of that type, to interact with our clients. And that is the counter which allows us to improve our expertise. We also discussed the expertise of the Arab Emirates, Canada, the UK, and I would like to express my gratitude to Dinara Shaminovna. She is the representative of the Republic of Kazakhstan, the Committee for Public Revenues, and Dinara raised a very important topic as to how to develop the digital empathy. And they really have an advanced expertise. And it is really a wonderful initiative of theirs. And this service has to be expanded, and the channels for interaction are to be expanded as well. The younger generation is keen on that. And the digital approach is very good for the interaction with the client, for the private account in particular. But the legal entities and individual entrepreneurs would like to have the live communication to apply in person. And she talked also about the e-government and also the paper copies and document flow. That's very handy for us. That's how we improve the instruments of interaction. And talking about the client-centric approach, we mean really the private interaction, the individual interaction with taxpayers, how we put a question, what is the response, and what should be improved on that score. And this year, we are going to expand our study on good practices and the incorporation of the client centricity in these best practices, which becomes indispensable for the business community. And by the end of the year, we will get together and also discuss these aspects of our discussion. Maybe we plan the offline meeting, and this is a real live dialogue, and thus we're going to discuss the sociological study methodology. And we talked about the short-term perspectives And let's start our panel discussion. And I invite Kasam Chalpan Faridovna, the deputy head of the Analytical Center under the government of the Russian Federation. Welcome. Also, I would like to invite Ismailov Tibor, the head of the strategic planning of the Tax Committee, Uzbekistan. Paratonov Maxim Vladimirovich, the director of the Center for Incorporation of the Client Centricity in the Russian Academy under the President of the Russian Federation. Aliagler Zadeh Maeva-Gif, the deputy head of the servicing of taxpayers under the Ministry of Economy of Azerbaijan. And also, it's my pleasure to invite Kerimanov Kemram. He is the head of tax service for tax of the state tax office under the Ministry of the Economy of Azerbaijan. Isibaeva Siyun, the member of the tax force, the member of the committee for the regulation of tax service system, Kyrgyz Republic. And also Maximov Andrei Alexandrovich, the deputy CEO of PAO KAMAZ, the financial director of PAO KAMAZ. Dear colleagues,
Okay, it's my pleasure that we have already a tradition where we have a live dialogue with you. It is also very valuable and sincere, and is always interesting. I would like us to start by saying that the Federal Tax Service is one of the 59 federal executive power authority reporting to government, which are actively involved in this system in the implementation of client centricity principles in governance. It's a comprehensive process which embraces not only federal authorities, it also embraces regional authorities. It would be very nice, Chopin Farisma, to learn your opinion how this project is developing. What are the issues that we face? Really, client centricity is a very delicate issue, and it is sometimes difficult to handle it without proper maturity. Could you describe that, how the situation stands? Good morning, dear colleagues. Thank you to the thank you, the chairperson. Well, you know the difficulties that we face. Mhm. First of all, I would like to thank the tax service and Hospital Kazan for this invitation. Indeed, Kazan, well, is a very nice city. It's all very close to me. Um, Thanks a lot. The project Government for the People, I uh, I know it, remember it from my experience of working in the tax service. It is very important to integrate people where tax services and other services understand each other and interact. It's very convenient for our taxpayers. But Government for the People project, that is reciprocal integration inside of the state, where all agencies, all members of the federation and all municipalities look and examine what our taxpayers need. The project started back in 2022. It's still a young project. How for a taxpayer to be heard? naturally, our Prime Minister supports this project because client centricity started in tax service when Mr. Mishustin was the head of it. And the tax service is the driver of this project. Alina mentioned that the key thing from which we start, we should ask people and businesses what they need. And Mikhail Vladimirovich believes that is at the top of agenda. Whether we talk about education or social welfare or medicine, or even when you build airplanes, you should ask people, do you like what was built for you? Are you comfortable? And for the workers, do you like to build airplanes? These are the first question with which the state should and the government should start their activities. Look at this slide. If we try to gauge in general satisfaction of an individual across services, digitalization, multi-channel approach, this is convenient for people, and these services are convenient for people, but services are born inside of a single agency. But if we look across, in general, across the table, we look at social services, which may be the most important for the people. We see that the degree of satisfaction amounts only to 60%. It's very far upwards to reach the 90% level. We should look at generation of certain essences which will generally satisfy the needs of people. I'm a mother. For me it will be convenient to register my child in a kindergarten. But for me, it is important not only to place my child in the kindergarten, but it will be important for me to place the child in the neighborhood kindergarten, and that I should not take a leave of absence from my job while to send my child to the kindergarten. It should be convenient for me. And if you look at this particular example, you will see that all the agencies should view their services not separately, but as a bundle proceeding from the real needs of individuals. Therefore, what we do in our project, we try to create the so-called real-life situations. We look at what is the current client journey for our people in this situation, and we try to achieve the desired client journey so that the services are most convenient and most accessible. For example, client journey for starting a business. We provide services not only for individuals, but for businesses as well. The red dots require personal visits. Yellow dots require filling in some forms. And the green ones are proactive activities. Small and medium business portal has a survey. You write, for example, I want to start a pharmacy. I believe when I was an employee of the tax service, I believe that 3 days is a good lead time. Now I see that registration is not that simple. Well, you should understand what's a pharmacy, what is a kiosk, or a network of pharmacies. And depending on that, government will uh, offer totally different requirements which should be met in order to achieve the businessman's objective. When we start a survey, we see what needs to be done. Indeed, we just start our work here. When we put together all these compulsory requirements, we understood that we need to fulfill 4,000 requirements. Let's put it on paper. It appears that it covers 70 pages. I want to start a pharmacy, then it means that I have to read a book of 70 pages first. No, we should, going forward, we should somehow streamline that, and probably something will be redundant, but we need to do a lot of work to achieve that. Creation of this service allows to take a bird's view of the situation. Today, we have 34 live situations under consideration. 13 of them relate to small and medium businesses, and 21 situations are related to individuals. Life situation requires attention of the 55 federal authorities, and 31 constituent members of the Russian Federation are involved. What an individual faces now is 50 or 60% probably related to the authorities at municipal powers. Well, we look at a reduction of the deadlines, a reduction of the number of personal visits, and a reduction of required paperwork. For example, if we look at an emergency, at the unified portal of public services, recently we had the situation of flood in the town of Orsk, and quite a few people approached this service. What it allows, when a person learns that an individual has to leave his house very shortly, he understands this information. We understand that people will not go immediately online to learn some information. We issue hard copies of brief descriptions of what should be done in an emergency situation. I imagine a panic a person may face where he is advised to leave his house in 24 hours. But it gives a short list of things that should be done. Disconnect electricity, well, put out the fire in your stove, unleash your pets and other animals. Once I did it, and I can leave the house presently. You should fill in all an application. All the data will be provided automatically. Well, the project will continue this year, and we expect to provide proactive measures of support and assistance. We look at the regional level. We started to work with the constituent members of the Federation. We've already started to look into over 400 regional live situation. We expect that before the end of next year it will all be completed. This is a track which let's say is most apparent, what the individuals can really feel. It is equally important that we work in a different area, that is what we are doing with each agency. We launch client centricity projects inside of each agency. 85 constituent members of the Russian Federation and 60 federal regional authorities are working in accordance with roadmaps. Look at the Federal Tax Service. It doesn't provide a lot of services, but we achieved high levels of client centricity. Now all businesses understand what are the risk criteria, and any business can understand where an audit can be made by tax authorities. And it will not be an emergency audit. He should be warned in advance and notified properly. It's a very client-centric approach. We look at our functions from the client centricity perspective. We want each agency in the Russian Federations, each constituent member of the Russian Federations, each municipality in the Russian Federation will consider for itself what are its main functions, who are their main clients. Some agencies come to us and they see that we produce such paper, for example, to invite a businessman to participate in a tender. Or maybe naturally, we produce our own rankings of the best agencies involved in our project. Well, but anyway, the tax service is number one. I'm very pleased. But the point is that in Federal Tax Service, we started to work on this agenda many years ago. It doesn't mean that everyone is happy to interact. No, we see that people understand their clients. They lend them their ear, and you see that there are also internal documents and bylaws which are required to work in accordance with client centricity principles. We invite municipalities to participate in this project. We cover as many regions as possible, and well, we see some new issues emerging, and we understand that there is still a lot of work to do. Chupan Faritna, thank you. It's a very interesting experience how client centricity is moving from top to bottom. We're reaching the municipal level where the bulk of interactions take place between an individual and the government. Special thanks for the last slide. These are not cooked figures. In 2023, tax service was number 2, and now we're number 1. It's sort of inside information. This panel session is the first time that this information was disclosed. We value that very much. We were number 2. We reviewed some of our process, and the speaker quite correctly put it. We understand the difficulties of tax administration and the classical positioning of a tax inspector as an auditor or a controller. Well, but we changed a lot, and thanks to active work of our managers. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Well, if you have questions, just raise your hand. We'll give you a mic. Що пан Фарітина? Well, our favorite expert, we always invite her. I hope we'll go on with this tradition, and we think a lot of changes. We understand how difficult it is to explain what is client centricity for people who are used to live in the world of standard regulations. Colleagues, if there is Marab Tadipich. I don't hear the question, unfortunately. Where is the line of division between client centricity and ourselves as a supervising authority? Is it going to impact our activities going forward? Thank you very much for your question. Indeed, in the end of the last year, we had a discussion of our controllers, and an employee of us, a controller, said that my child, my daughter, is enjoying a swing. If we do not check the swings whether they're correct or not, well, children may suffer. No, by no means. It doesn't mean that the supervision should be relaxed. No, the function of a control authority, the function of the tax service is prescribed by the state, and also client centricity. I'm saying that myself as a person, I am a client of the state, and I want to have a top-notch service, including I want to be sure that all taxes are paid, because tax proceeds fund education and medicine. Businesses should understand where they're right and where they're wrong, and where is that the dividing line after which you understand that an audit is unavoidable. Once the audit was completed, well, there are clear-cut rules for appeal, both through a judicial process and extrajudicial. Well, the business has a chance to suspend a penalty even at the court stage. You know that better. You're a professional. You're a professional, the tax service, who is delegated to an analytical center under the government of Russia. When I looked at the last slide, it looked like a salty sugar. The tax service was ahead of the Ministry of Health. It seems strange that I agree with that, but also the federal the unitary punitive agency, well, also looks at client centricity, the criminals, will be liable, but interaction with people, it's. I was very much surprised. But nevertheless, even there, we see some signs of client centricity. The Federal Punitive Service does a lot where the prisoners can select their menu, for example. Yes, mm, these people are criminals, but the dialogue is maintained. Uh, Maybe we'll invite for a special session our punitive service. I suggest we switch to our colleagues from Uzbekistan. Uh, Good morning, dear participants of the conference. I would like to thank Yulia Vyacheslavna, Marat Atipovich, Tech Service of Tatarstan, for your very warm welcome. We did a lot of sightseeing, and thank you for this warm welcome. Client centricity approach is a very interesting subject, and I understand that we have a lot of things in common in terms of client centricity agenda. By your leave, I would like to discuss the approaches that we use in the Republic of Uzbekistan. Well, 2030 strategy was approved in our country, which provides uh, for selection of the main area, that is serving the people. Among other things, it provides for digitalization, and we try to digitalize our tax system. In a nutshell, I would like to discuss some of the regulations that were approved in our country. These regulations change the tax service. Now the tax service is service-oriented. Tax authorities try to create such favorable environment where taxpayer will easily discharge his or her tax obligations. And the main goal is that tax service is a reliable partner of good faith taxpayers. Interaction with taxpayers was reviewed completely. We're now more client-oriented, and we create proper environment. Another regulation which puts forth a concept for improvement of tax service. That is, the idea is to reduce the tax burden. We want to create an environment where a taxpayer will not hide his or her revenues and discharge his or her tax obligations in good faith. The tax burden has reduced dramatically. I will give you an example. Well, for example, there was an 8% levy for the special insurance budget. It was cancelled. The tax rate is now flat. The the uniform tax payment, social tax payment, was reduced by half. The next thing, we approved a relevant strategy with a view to improve tax administration. On top of that, I would like to discuss with you the rating of sustainability of businessmen, which intended to encourage good faith taxpayers. We combine it with risk management and risk analysis. The main objective is to achieve a situation where the share, the portion of good faith taxpayers will increase. With relevant criteria, uh, we want to increase the share of those businesses which are in the so-called green corridor. We want legal business to be more attractive than the shadow business. We have a variety of regulations to support that. We've achieved some results, but it's only part of our journey. We move forward. We have special tax suspensions for major taxpayers. We have a department for monitoring and rewarding good faith taxpayers, but the main focus was on client orientation, that is, creating favorable environment. You will see that over 70,000 of taxpayers received practical assistance in maintaining their accounting books. Over 100,000 taxpayers were assisted in recovering overpaid taxes. Nearly 4,000 taxpayers had the deadline for paying their tax arrears extended. The level of voluntary tax payment is 96%. All our businesses submit their tax returns in electronic format. Some parts of tax returns are generated by tax authorities. With about 60 agreements with relevant authorities who feed us some data, and based on this data we produce tax returns for our taxpayers.
But indeed, we have to pay attention to the interactive services. Today we have more than 50 of them, and we try to make more of so that taxpayers comply with his and hers tax obligations. And also we have the mobile application for tax payment, and they were the first in a client centricity contest among tax offices. And so we have to proceed in that direction. As to mobile application, we have the cashback services. They may take cash back, be registered via the email. Actually, check the status, check everything related to your story in the profile, And so the mobile application provides all sorts of services via internet. Couple of comments on the feedback, and that's a very relevant business area for us. But we cannot take into account all the nuances. I thought that the subjects of business are far ahead other bodies, and we have some new types of business activities, and accordingly, we have to issue some new legal regulatory documents. And the interaction with the taxpayer becomes indispensable at this level of communication. We have to assess our weak points, how to fix these weak points, where further we have to go, and take into account the comments and recommendations of our taxpayers. We are working all year round. All the complaints and applications are reviewed within one day, and Ashim, by the way, is taking care of this particular business area, and we try to promptly get the response and feedback from taxpayers, thus improving our cooperation. We have the National Catalog for Services, and this particular system was implemented in April 2021, and we have the indication code encompassing more than 370,000 entities, and also checks and bills 875,000. Digitalization is a key area for us, and in order to be more efficient and prompt, we may immediately check how this or that product is being sold, what becomes more efficient in that sphere, and we try to digitize all the spheres. Also, labeling system is the one which is quite an advanced one for tobacco, alcohol, beer, for household appliances, and we have an obvious growth in here as to the products range, and it's very encouraging for us. So digitalization contributes a lot onto the product line enhancement and its enlargement. We have CRM available, a risk analysis system, and we are abiding by the criteria, and also we have 3 types of corridors: yellow, green, and red ones in terms of risk assessment. And we are very much interested to have minimal risk so that everyone goes to the green corridor rather than to the yellow one. But we try to help and assist our entities having some technical mistakes, and we organize some chamber audits for them, thus teaching them to avoid all these mistakes. As to red corridors, they are evading taxes, and they do not comply with their obligations. And when we talk about the client centricity in here, it's real hard to choose the line how to undertake certain measures. And some pertinent bodies have to take into account some certain deficiencies and know how to fix these deficiencies of the system. We have the after-cameral system. It is a fully automated process, providing us with the pertinent information. Back in January 2022, this canal, that was the channel incorporated, and they immediately fix and register every mistake, and the taxpayer normally sees what are mistakes to be corrected, and they also assist them, those systems assist the taxpayer in other activities. After-cameral presupposes the automated tax reporting system definition and formalization. A taxpayer just have to do the accept, and the system may also generate the pertinent tax reports, and that's it. And the taxpayer should be notified. They take the so they accept the information and form their report using the taxpayer's account card. And actually allow me to take 2 minutes of your attention. And we've been working at tax administration project jointly with the World Bank, and we identified 2 subcomponents: automation of the key business processes and also elimination of the tax barriers and HR. As to first block, we've been involved in that already. As to the second block, it's essential for the shadow economy exclusion. And as for the third one, the HR potential is indispensable for us, and it should be brought to a very high level of hierarchy within the framework of client-oriented approach. And we have Strategy 20, and the key task is to simplify the tax system, to have 100% digitalization, providing equal conditions, and the official sector should become more competitive rather than the illegal one. Big data processing, AI, so these aspects are very topical for us, and also it will be of great interest for us to know the expertise of other tax services abroad. Thank you so much, Timur Atabayevich. Thank you for your contribution. I followed it with great interest, and I saw it at one of the slides that you have the measurement of monitoring and incentivizing the good faith taxpayers. And I would like to ask Andrei Alexandrovich, you are a key taxpayer. Will it be interesting for you to be encouraged by the tax bodies for some good deeds of yours? We all have the professional deformation. I don't know for sure. Yes, of course. As you gave me the floor, I'm kind of a nervous person, and I see quite an audience here. Tax Inspectorate over the past few years have become no longer a punitive body, but it has become a partner. And if you are absolutely clean, having no shadow business, and you're open, so you may get consultation, and you may be also provided with some service. And we exchange views, and these partnership relations are very good. If people incentivize you for that, that's a good idea. Thank you, Andrei Alexandrovich. And you put a pertinent question. How to incentivize the taxpayer? As of today, we have the Legal Regulatory Act, and we have a taxpayer in the Green Corridor. And for them, the VAT return is provided within 1 day. And we do not check the subject of business in the Green Corridor. And this is how you incentivize them, that you do not give them any audits. As to VAT return, it is a 1 month period, but good faith subjects automatically get this return. The key thing is the position them in the Green Corridor. And that is how you create favorable conditions for them. And the subjects which stay in a Red Corridor, yes, it will be harder for them to interact with us. As to CRM, we have a good product, software product, with the we give a message to a taxpayer, and we are not going to force them. This is one clarifying issue. The rating of good faith taxpayer, is it a public one?
Slide, да, пока?
Just show us our slides. We are prepared to put your presentation to the screen. Slide number 1, we have a regulation that the ordinance of our president, implementation of rating tables for taxpayers to reward good faith taxpayers. We have special bylaws which describe taxpayer rankings A, B, C. That's a sort of scale which is created totally based on the tax code. Through the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we inform taxpayers about their rankings. We are moving towards a situation where businesses will switch of their own free will to that green corridor. The regulation is in place. We're complying with it. There are some areas we need to improve. I hope that going forward, maybe next year, we'll be able to have a better idea of the situation. My question to Timur, that's regulation number 39. It covers not only tax matters, for example, ranking. You're not going to create 10 ranking tables for different authorities. Banking system have their own compliance ranking. Is it a uniform ranking for the Republic? Because the most difficult thing for tax authorities is to classify the taxpayer as a bad or as a good one. It is easy to say who is a bad taxpayer, but as for a good taxpayer, it may take some time to determine. But when we say that you are a bad taxpayer, it's a very serious statement. When you make it in public domain, it may have a negative impact on business. Who is going and how this ranking table will be interpreted by other authorities? Is this ranking table only comprehensive or only for tax authorities? Does it include data from other agencies, from other federal executive authorities? Yes, yes. Del Toro, you correctly put it that Regulation 39, there are 25 criteria, but the key 10 criteria, well, uh, there is a 10-point scoring table. The main criteria are submission of tax returns, timely payment of taxes, timely submission of electronic invoices, whether a taxpayer has land property, etc. And rewards, there are additional scores. It is a 10-point score table. The top level is 3A, where tax audits are not performed and tax refund is done within 1 day. This category 3A should have a scoring from 91 to 100. Even if they fail to collect the number of scores for 10 key criteria, there are rewarding scores. Where a taxpayer employs low-income people. The ranking table can be viewed in the personal cabinet, but the score is visible to to counterparties of these businesses. They see whether their counterparty is, for example, 3A or is it in a red area. It is public on the website of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. You select the taxpayer's number and you will see the overall ranking. In the personal cabinet, a business can see under which criteria he or she is not up to the mark. It is not mentioned that tax returns are submitted on the monthly basis along with invoices. Therefore, during this month, you may not meet the 3A rating, but next month you can make it. In the major ranking, for example, you have Green Corridor and 3A. We have now over 3,000 businesses there. I will intervene. On the other hand, the country should know who are the best taxpayers and who are the worst ones. For example, the counterparties should be aware, well, if they deal with a bad faith taxpayer. It may not be, it may be that such a counterparty is not reliable. Oftentimes, for example, we were not cautious enough, for example, and it will be an extra source of information for selecting your counterparty. Well, it's a very, let's say, difficult discussion which may be continued for hours. Well, our tech services are moving gradually in this direction. Not only taxpayers will use this ranking. This ranking will be used by other authorities and by the banking system. Therefore, we should step very cautiously here. And well, let's say some people with bad faith intentions may use it. We think about this tool, but from a different angle. We may talk about it separately once the panel discussion is over. Although this item should be discussed, maybe other people will mention it. Maybe it may be that tax authorities will put a seal on a business, whether it is bad or good. In my opinion, we should take a very cautious approach here. Thank you very much for your intervention. You put it quite correctly. I've been said that we're pressed for time. It's a live discussion. Today, we have a panel discussion on client centricity in public governance. You said that you have well, a variable rate tax scale, but once you introduced your flat rate, it dramatically increased internal revenues of the country. Client centricity from the side of the tax authority towards some category of Uzbekistan citizens. Taxpayers are happy, but varying rate tax scale, well, there is an opinion that higher income individuals should have bigger social responsibility towards the country. Do you believe that it should be a flat rate or a variable rate scale? Maybe, Shulpan Faridna, what is your opinion as a tax expert? I think that the client centricity is making tax payment easy and comfortable. As for the tax rate, I don't have enough knowledge to express any opinion here. You should have better understanding of the structure of the public governance on the situation in the economy and to voice any opinion here. I'm for having comfort in paying taxes with I believe that higher income individuals should pay higher rate taxes, taxes at higher rate. As a taxpayer, I believe that a higher income individual should pay taxes at a higher rate. As a taxpayer, I am prepared for that. Yeah, so I join in this opinion. Yes, indeed. If we talk about trust and integrity and social justice, yes, our president, when in his recent message to the Federal Assembly, talked about fair taxation. I think that mature tax system can allow variable rate taxation. When we look at the Anglo-Saxon taxation system, it it existed for many years. How old is your tax committee? Starting from 1991. We are not much older. We're well about of the same age. We are a young taxation system. We are young tax authorities. And to talk about variable rate system, yes, it should be there. And it exists in many countries where taxation system have existed for centuries. In Russia, the highest tax rate was over 30%. It was cancelled in 2001. And you remember what happened. First, well, internal revenues declined, but then tax revenue started to climb. First, there was a reduction in proceeds, but then we started to collect more taxes. And gradually, now, when we reached a certain level of digital maturity and development of our revenue service, we may talk about variable rate system. Well, it's a very delicate line. You may arrive to a situation where those who are now open and transparent taxpayers will return to the gray zone and will pay salaries to their employees in envelopes. But as a taxpayer, I'm for that. On the other hand, 13% of a million is more than 13% from 20,000. And those who pay 13,000, in absolute terms, they pay more anymore. Well, there is a level of justice. Yes, we can say so. But on the other hand, where 1 million, 13% is it's a big amount, and plus 2% for a person who has 1 million income. I would like to say that I support Yulia Vyacheslavna. It depends on the time where we live. If we look at Uzbekistan's example, when we had variable rate, the bulk of salaries were paid in envelopes. We can discuss sincerely. We can talk about sincerely. Just I wanted to say that businesses, for example, paid the social tax 25%. Business, in order to paid 25% for each employee. Social payment for natural persons. A natural person had to pay about 23%, and at that time, when the regulation was approved, that the change of tax rate from 25% to 12, it created a situation where it was more profitable for businesses to hire people, let's say, officially in accordance with all legal requirements. In most countries abroad, they use variable rate system. Once we have a mature system, we can think about variable rate approach. Thank you, Timur. Briefly, just yes or no, Maxim, as the citizen of Russia. I will not be able to give a brief answer. Well, we can relax and enjoy because we've already exceeded our time limits. Well, I was to be. Just answer a question. I one of the few people who is not from tax service because I have fresh look. I will start from afar and I will shift your focus from or your attention from a specific question, whether it's just and fair so that those who have more income pay a higher rate. There is a notion, and it is also exists in client centricity. When we pay something, when we buy something, the price is not equal to value. Just remember a joke from the 90s. I bought a tie for 100. Just across the street, you may buy the same tie for a tie for 1,000 rubles. When we acquire a certain thing, we can spend more money, but we understand that it will give us a bigger satisfaction. Let's look at tax. How a rank and file citizen who is not a tax authority employee, how it views a tax. From your perspective, yes, he discharges his statutory obligation since he is a citizen, but from the perspective of a rank and file individual, he buys a set of services from the state, from the government. When you drive on a bad road, people ask what they're doing with my taxes. I pay my taxes, and the government is supposed to invest in infrastructure, kindergartens and schools, and I'm prepared to pay more, but I should understand that my money was spent appropriately. I understand that I contribute to something. Let's say I have a bigger wealth. For some reason, I'm prepared to pay more if I understand that my money is spent properly. That is my request, my internal feeling of justice. But a person who earns less will not I'm satisfied. And instead that people who earn more, probably they're smarter, but I know that they pay more, and that is good. And the justice is on both sides. What I'm driving to, what the client centricity result in. We're going to talk going forward about human centricity from both sides, both for people who with low income and high income. The result is increased in trust towards your government. The key thing is that our request for justice is met, and people understand where their money is spent. This is earmarked spending of my taxes. In Islamic culture, we understand that there is a separate notion of Islamic bank. When I was interested in startups, I knew about a startup. They collect money from the faithful, and then they demonstrate where each ruble of that donation was spent. But for some people, it's easier not to just give your money to poor people, but to give money to a foundation, and then you will see that your funds were earmarked, and you will see that your money helped an individual in a specific situation, and it meets our request for justice. What is the rate, flat or variable rate? It's all the same. Just everybody should understand where money goes. There is math. Well, if we ask for less, they give us more. The client centricity is based on understanding the needs. When we go to a store, you are not going to buy food, you are just going to alleviate your hunger. We should understand the rest is mechanics and technical issues, which, if you are an expert in a specific area, you can test, but the human request is either higher or lower, but you should understand it and satisfy it properly. That's how you satisfy it, it's another story. But the thing that you should meet the requirements of those who administers taxation and those who pay taxes. Thank you. That's a very in-depth answer. We will have a time to talk about that.
And nevertheless, in order to be client-centric, um, all the panelists, will you please say yes or no? I am in favor of the progressive scale. Azerbaijan is in favor. Kimran? I am in favor of the progressive scale. And so tax burden may create some certain risks. Yes, in favor. Uzbekistan, you analyzed this particular process and actually you have some data, and tomorrow will you share this data with us? And this is a very debatable subject. Siyun, what do you think about it? The Kyrgyz Republic? We're in favor of the progressive scale. Yes, it's a unanimous approach of CIS countries. We will proceed our deliberations. I like very much our live format. Maxim, will you please share some of the expertise of yours? As Cholpan already shared some ideas on the launch of the federal project. And the Russian Academy of Science has a special center for competences for that reform. And it's really hard to reform the mindset of the specialists, of tax officials and public servants. I have 10 slides. Will you please download some key ones? I have 10 of them altogether. And let me introduce myself. I've been dealing with client centricity for quite a long time, since 2006, and I am teaching our public officials for about 5 years, and we have a clear understanding as what is needed for the study process. The highest school of the public service has a special center, and we are supposed to have the client centricity center, and that is done as a feedback from the government. And client centricity approach has always been very popular as a part of our university curricula. And nowadays we are developing these training programs, and upon the request we assist some government bodies, thus providing the client centricity approach. How do we view the study process? And originally, when we planned our curriculum, we understood that we need to identify the target audience. First of all, senior managers, junior managers, and managers at the subjects of the Russian Federation. So for them, we created a specific program for client centricity, and with a name to help these people sort it out and how they need to act when they face some resistance. And people did not understand why client centricity is so substantial. But we underwent the digital transformation, administrative reform, the project management, and we are now on a positive wave. And we have one of the key curriculum to share with you. And we introduce the client centricity aspect, and this is a part of the training program for leaders at the executive level and the subjects of the Russian Federation. More than 500 years will be trained with a goal of 1,000. We also have a mass scale program online, and we're talking about communication. And on a standalone basis, we also put forth the online one for client centricity, which is a basic one. And it is necessary for any public servant. And these people are normally rendering public services, and for them it is very substantial. Some plan of ours presuppose the following. Our centralized programs will be provided to 10,000, and also client centricity programs will reach 15,000 as a coverage. And we cleared the barriers of last year, and the course will be an open one, and anyone may be registered. And the line of our programs is expanding, and we are going to launch the strategy for client centricity curriculum, and other people will be involved in that process. By the way, those who manage to get the training will have some kind of a follow-up in terms of client centricity curriculum. And we have more than 260 people to undergo this training from all the subjects of the Russian Federation at the executive level. We also have the professional client centricity. And this year, we have some supervisory bodies to allocate their officials for the study purposes. What is the basis for the programs compilation? We have hybrid programs. First of all, the best practices for client centricity, they are in greater demand. And we organize a program for our colleagues, and some regions shared their expertise, and it was of great interest to us. And some practices are applied in other regions, and those not covered express an interest. And they also try to replicate certain programs and certain expertise, and the practice goes first. So 50% of theory presupposes 50% of practice as a teamwork. And we think of a real-time project, and within the training course, we provide them assistance, well, in online courses, and this is a training in a modular mode, and specific people will attain the specific results. And this is how we act in that situation, and Svetlana Faridovna is in here with us, and we try to discuss it and find such a formats which will be more lively and be reflected in our educational programs. We used to have an available curricula, but it had to be modified in the course of life activity. And that presupposes a proper and pertinent knowledge, which will be applicable to their real situation. And so the key program presupposes the team of incorporation at the federal and regional level, and we use the instruments for incorporation of this centric approach. There are quite a number of instruments of that sort, and the first result of the first quarter was embedded in an instruction on client centricity deployment. We analyzed everything, and we provided a step-by-step scenario, what needs to be done if you do not understand anything about client centricity. Having this textbook has more than 100 pages, but whenever you come to a certain event, meeting, or to some top authority, I see this volume of ours, which has been printed, and it's already everywhere as a Bible for our staff. And we reconsidered quite a number of methodologies, and our colleagues understand the necessity of that effort of ours. How this program looks like? We have a focus on the process management, and that's a key thing in client centricity. And also we have an understanding of requirements, and we subdivided it into 3 offline sessions. We have field sessions. We visit federal okrugs, all the subjects of the Russian Federation, and organize today's program, give a home assignment. They do not like it, but in several weeks they come to Moscow for 4 days course, and then we let them go, and also provide online courses. And at the end of the year, they are going to be invited at the Forum for Client Centricity in October. This year it will be the second one, and we want to have it more mass scale. And also we organize webinars, and also some projects are defended using some specific real-time examples. That's it. I think I managed to fit into 10 minutes, and I'm prepared to answer your questions. Any questions, dear colleagues? Some clarifications. I have a question. I have a simple question. Is it possible to get this 100 pages instruction? I see that I have to advertise this particular publication. Everything we do is an open access, and via QR code and Telegram channel you may interact with us, and this instruction is downloaded there. And if something goes wrong, you please address us. You can look through the other posts. I think we will put it in our chat and share all the presentations with you. And we have an instruction which could be downloaded in PDF format. And all the materials are open, also our research work, but it's worthy to mention that we have these materials in place. Please keep track of our publications. We're not insisting, but I think we would share them with you anyway. Yes, that's just a treasure of information. Question number 2. You mentioned that pretty soon the online training will be organized on client centricity and with tax administrations of CIS. And we have a real serious request for training. So maybe some pilot will be a good thing to do. In the foreseeable future, we offer your attention the landing and in that landing you will have an instruction as how to get an access to our documents. That will be the online process for our colleagues within the framework of our academy. And the portal of public service will also contain the pertinent information. Yes, yes, we can put it everywhere, all this information. Chulpan Faridovna talked about municipalities, and also we're going to offer this course to the municipal services. So we'll do it in the foreseeable future. And this is a basic document of ours. I mean the basic competence of ours, client centricity, approaches, methodologies, the fundamental documents, values, effects. So this course contains it all. And everyone involved in that particular case will get some benefit from our work. And yes, the client centricity principle is absolutely indispensable for executive authorities. And I put together all the responses, and people react very positively. And there's no secret that once a team comes, for example, from Chukotka, well, they cannot do it online. They may only do it offline, and they do not understand these principles. But sooner or later, they show their achievements and their success, and little by little, the system starts changing. Millions and millions and thousands of thousands are involved in the public service. And so training is the most efficient mechanism. It's an international audience which we have here. And that is not just geometry or maths. And we have this series, and it is done within the framework of our project, within the framework of our understanding of the methodology and the client centricity notion awareness. And you may undergo certain training. And Maxime aptly mentioned that we have a very lively project, and we make some adjustments, and feedback is a key competence for us. Everything is changing rapidly in that world, and the projects may also change. Thank you so much, Chulma Faritovna. It's a good story. It's a good case. And the client centricity is about creativity, is about art, and it's about feedback. We are people, we are irrational, and we may get satisfied with one story and then get satisfied with another story tomorrow. And that is what we do all the time, and adjust this platform and update it. And I would like to address our colleague from the Ministry of the Economy of Azerbaijan. We have Maya and Kimran.
How your client centricity projects are started, how you engage with your taxpayers, and where you're moving. Maxim very nicely discharged his obligation to fit in a 10-minute slot. I will ask you to be brief and share your experience with it. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for your hospitality and for your welcome and for the opportunity to discuss this issue with my colleagues. As for the need to introduce client centricity principles or human centricity principles in our activities under the government of economy of Azerbaijan, as in other countries, implementation of new processes and program services was done, let's say, through an imperative procedures without taking into account any requirements or demands of clients, both internal and external. As a result, the response was negative. We faced a formal response mostly, and in many cases people looked the possibility to bypass our requirements. Automatization of all processes in our tax service, which was started in 2006, and development of IT globally led to a situation where such problems arose very often. And we understood that we should switch from machine-centric approach to a human-centric approach. And at the end of the day, our tax service started to promote the client centricity approach, and the annual tax forum, which was held this year, we start to actively promote client centricity agenda, and we also start to use laboratories of clients' experience. We picked up a lot of experience from your country, and we thank again the Federal Tax Service of Russia. What you did in a matter of 2 years and allowed us to reduce our client journey. And in April this year, we launched the user experience laboratory, and in parallel we do some mining, and we create situative and client-oriented services. We are always happy to share experience and to give you a friendly hand. Good morning, dear colleagues. Taking into account that we're pressed for time, I will try to be brief. Implementation of client centricity concept in our service had the main goal of provide for combining two objectives, that is internal client, internal customer, and external customer. There is a some, let's say, conflict between them, but we want to mitigate this conflict by taking into account the expectations and need of both sides. As for our experience of implementation of client centricity in relation to our external client, we use a variety of tools of feedback, like earmarked electronic surveys. We also have QR codes for surveys with a link for electronic surveys, and such links are available in our service centers. We engage volunteers. We do a lot of surveys. We carry out electronic assessment of services. For conservative taxpayers, we have special boxes for submission of their complaints and suggestions. Then we do personalized surveys during our on-the-ground monitoring missions, where our employees of our tax authorities go to the regions of the country. Then we call our taxpayers by phone, those taxpayers who received some services, and taxpayers who participated in surveys. As for the creation of the laboratory, we launched the project in pilot project in April this year. We started with 3 services. Over a short period, we've selected the location, IT equipment, etc. Over a short period, we created a very comfortable working place. We started with 3 services: letters sent to the taxpayers who were registered recently. These are standard letters, plus letters that are sent to those who failed to timely submit their tax returns or failed to submit them altogether, and then online queues in electronic service centers. One of the aspects was to select our respondents for surveys. First and foremost, we distributed letters, then we sent text messages, then we used social media, our website, and plus we did a lot of phone work. And some respondents were also tested in our laboratory. Some of the results were surprising. Based on the experience of other countries, we drafted an agreement on the use, on the examination or on the research of users' journey, users' experience, and we signed an agreement with the respondents where they agree to disclosure of their personal data. We have some plans to work going forward. We want to set up a laboratory under our own service, and we want to use some outsourced contractors. It will be more efficient. They will be working with our employees, and their specialists may have more, let's say, detailed information. Once this lab is established, we want to provide the legal framework for that. so that any changes in products or services will be channeled through the laboratory first. A few words about the inclusivity principles. We should create a fair ground for all taxpayers, level ground for all taxpayers. We are creating a new portal which takes into account the problems faced by people with eyesight problems, etc. We work on creating accessible environment for our taxpayers. We use the Braille letters in our services. We plan to develop and create several services like situation services, registration portal for rental contracts, where the single portal will be used to register lease contracts based on information provided by the state service on property. There will be information on lease services, and also there will be information about withholding tax. There will be a proactive service for registration of businesses. Proactive issuance of, let's say, confirmations for payment of taxes under a simplified scheme. Now we are working on some technical matters and creation of the ad hoc service. I want to become an entrepreneur. And different services, you just have to apply once to a tax service and to use the same portal for filing all information. Another aspect, there are two sides to this problem. We not only have only external client, but also have an internal client. We should take into account human factors. Humans are sensitive to change. Our employees are also in the center of our client centricity approach. We make a lot of internal surveys. We try to rely on international practice to see whether our employees are exhausted at their workplaces. We also wanted to study the level of engagement of our employees. We plan each day, based on these metrics, to compare how the situation changed from year to year. We want to see whether measures we take to improve ourselves were efficient. The loyalty index is very important for us. It was expected that well, in dealings with the taxpayers, the loyalty index for our employees was lower. It was expected because it is a very stressful work. We do process mining to optimize business processes. We want to engage our employees so that our employees feel that are an important element, that that their efforts are important, and the ideas of our employees should be taken into account, and each employee can make his or her modest contribution to improvement of services generally provided by our agency. We also organize trainings on client orientation agenda. Our coaches also visit our local outposts to improve our skills of our employees. We arrange different methods to improve, to expand, let's say, the knowledge of our clients based on the experience of our service. Based on Russian experience, we want to engage some principles. We'll have more time. We'll be able to discuss it tomorrow. Mike, Imran, thank you. Special thanks that thanks to the fact that you talked about dealing with the internal customer, because well, our personnel are an important element in our work. Any changes start with our employees. If we do not care about employees, we do not encourage them, if we do not study their needs, we won't be able to change our relations with our external customers. The culture of any government agency is created by our employees. It is very important to obtain feedback from our employees. Our internal tools are very important for the performance of our organization. We study the level of satisfaction and loyalty of our employees. Unfortunately, employees who deal directly with taxpayers face a lot of stress. It is important that our employees, when they return from the office, do not take any negative emotions to their families. Some younger people in our offices dealing with taxpayers will have problems in taking care of, on mitigating their stresses. They should learn how to negotiate with taxpayers. It's an important area. Jun. Suyun, it is very important to listen to your opinion and to your experience. How do you approach client centricity in the Republic of Kyrgyzstan? What you are doing in your country? Good morning, dear participants and experts. First and foremost, I would like to thank organizers of this event for giving us an opportunity for that offline meeting. In my paper, I want to discuss with you the experience of our republic in implementation of client centricity principles in tax service to create favorable environment for our taxpayers with single windows started in our 53 regional offices with service centers for businesses. Starting from June 2024, we stop trading or patent issuance procedures. Therefore, we have 6 patent issuance points in retail malls and markets. We also tax advisors who work at different markets in the countries. They give advice on the simplified taxation system. They help people dealing with the teller's machine and issuing invoices. They help businesses to learn how to submit their tax returns. We launched a survey, should there be a flat tax rate or a variable tax rate? If your sales do not exceed a certain amount, you do not you pay taxes at a zero rate. If the sales do not exceed 30 million soms, well, you pay tax at 0.5 rate. The bulk of our tax services are provided through single windows. I will give you a list of these services. Registration, that's the first number one. Re-registration, receipt of applications, issuance of all types of references, access to websites, electronic patent and insurance policy, also tax returns of individuals, small-sized businesses and legal entities must submit electronic tax returns. Cloud-based electronic signature is also given through a signal window, while before taxpayers had to approach special centers, and that service was provided for a fee. Now the electronic signature is provided free of charge. Tax advisory is also very important. Reform of the single window, self-service area, electronic queue, universality of employees, and control of the quality of service provided. Creation of single window started in 2012. They were pretty standard. They were high, let's say. The taxpayers had to stand. Now we changed the design. It is now an open. Now taxpayer can comfortably sit on a chair. Besides, with an electronic queue, there is a self-service area where there is a computer and a printer. A taxpayer who has a personal account can submit an application and change some date in the documents, etc. For switching to client centricity approach, we try to achieve universality of our employees, while before, for example, one window provided services only to legal entities, another one served only individuals. Now the same employee provides all types of services. To this end, taxpayer just takes a ticket and approaches the relevant window. Improvement of the quality of services cannot be achieved without monitoring the quality of service provided. Now taxpayers can use the QR code to assess the quality of service they received. It may be a negative or a positive mark. In case of low marks, we contact this taxpayer to obtain more detailed information, to take relevant measures. In 2021, we're the first service center for businesses. There are all comfortable conditions for taxpayers. The advantage of the service center is that not only tax service does its work, over 10 different agencies like Customs Services, Ministry of Justice, Department of Precious Metal, of river transport, and other state entities provide their services there. A similar center was started in Osh in 2023. They provide services to taxpayers from 8 regions of Osh administration district, and services are provided by commercial banks along with other government entities. Therefore, you can not only obtain tax services but also take a loan there. All services that are provided in single windows may be traced through the personal account of tax.
We have quite a number of opportunities, like online registration of individual entrepreneurship. You may provide an application via online and get registered as a physical entity or individual entrepreneur. Identification is provided via personal signature, and wins are provided for electronic patent for all types of receipts, and we may also get information about movable and immovable property, thanks to the integration with organization in charge of registration of property. And also you may pay taxes and insurance fees via QR code or payment code. And the next slide presupposes the availability of the personal profile via login and password, and you can use the e-signature. And plus, you may find the information in your private account about your debts, counteragents, all kinds of tax information, and also get notification by the terms of payment 3 days prior to the effective date. And you may also order the verification electronic calculator for the calculations per property and other services. Also, we have the app for the taxpayers account, and all the services are available and are going to be updated. The information support is also offered in all the social media. We have groups of the prompt response, and we have the responsible person to provide consultancy. We have call center, we have technical support. All the phones are available of the people in charge. And so we have the key projects for digitalization, the electronic invoice, more than 600,000 users, also transport invoices, and information system for cash desk, and more than 700 transactions take place within a minute. And we also have mobile app and online services. And we see quite a number of positive components of localization, and it was 144 billion, but nowadays it's 249 billion sum. And the government for the first time tried to insist on the availability of checks or bills for providing services, and there was one ticket per 1,000 soms, and 237 gifts were awarded, also flats, cars, 1,000 iPhones and smartphones. And that was a real mass-scale campaign from the part of the government. And there were some deaths on cars and projects for 24-25 cashback. And we have the promo campaign, just win the check, and citizens may provide those checks and get the checks returned. And
If there are any breaches made or a failure to comply with the regulation, a taxpayer may submit the claim. Well, submission of tax returns through other parties. Based on today's discussion, I hope that the list of our projects will be expanded after we exchange information and experience with people from our working group. I see that two of the projects that are planned have been implemented in Uzbekistan. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. It's very interesting, exciting. I will ask you a brief question, and that's your promo action. Well, just demand the check and you may win an apartment. I did not provide any figures, but you see that it was very active and how much money was spent on this program. It was public funds used for this purpose, and starting from the second half this year, we're launching a similar project for cashback. And now, indeed, we thank you for for discussing the development of the system for servicing your taxpayers. It is nice to see how from that is the concept of a standing citizen, you switch to the model where your taxpayers comfortably sit at the single window. It is a very important detail how you structure your communications with your taxpayers. But when you can compare how it was and how it is now, it is a practical confirmation of the fact that taxation systems in CIS countries are changing. And the design of the rooms where single windows are located is also important. It is understandable that the public sector is not that flexible as private sector in terms of adopting to change. We looked at the experience of business community for the best examples, and the value of today's discussions that we have Maxim with us, who is not from a taxpayers, he's a fresh head. We have also Andrei Alexandrovich, Deputy General Director of KAMAZ. You probably know about KAMAZ. It is the driver of Russia's automotive industry. It's a very responsible taxpayer, and you have vast experience in development of your corporate culture in providing post-after-sales services. Andrei Alexandrovich, what is your vision? You, as a representative of the business community, how you view client centricity, and probably you will talk about client centricity in relations of the government and businesses. Good morning, dear colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. Well, being an employee of KAMAZ is sort of a diagnosis. I have, let's say, the difficult mission of being the last speaker before lunch. If I continue for too long, the audience will hate me. I'm give you some video recording of how a modern truck is designed. I am going to talk about digital transformation, and these are actual video recordings from actual workstations of our plant. You see how a modern car designer operates. First, the truck is virtually assembled. We look at the compatibility of different accessories, and we see how the truck can be assembled. Sometimes we look what is better to increase salaries of our designers or to buy a new PC. However, it's a joke, and we value our people very much. How we started with our digital transformation? We started to think about somewhere in 2017. We looked at what automotive plants are doing in Europe. We visited Renault, Daimler, Siemens, Anrad Fabrik, and some other companies. We want to understand what is it and why we need it. We understand, yes, we are a big company, and we are responsible for transportation safety in this country. But we understand that as for any big corporation, we find it difficult to make to take a rapid solution. Therefore, we looked at the experience of our, let's say, colleagues and competitors. Our management system is a pillar of our digitalization. What is digital transformation? In Skolko, we had a strategic workshop. We invited over 10 companies who were believed to be leaders in digital transformation, and we understood there is a change of business process taken into account with their, let's say, new disruptive technologies. It is not only a new business process, it is a business process using a new technology. For example, personnel is one of the areas of our client centricity project. Well, there is a shortage of staff, that's common knowledge. I'm also sitting on the city council, and there is a shortage of about 5,000 blue collars in the city. Where to respond to this challenge, we started to look at the management of work process at shop level. And the main thing was to reduce the burden on employees, because the system of which exists in the Soviet Union we have some schools where we train, technical schools where we train employees. In any case, we understand that such requirements exist, and we had to do something about it. The new system allows to improve performance without placing less burden on personnel. In business process, the situation is the same. Unfortunately, we lack not only blue collars, but also don't have enough white-collar workers. We started with robotization of our office business process. We use our own domestic programs, domestic software, and such software allows to circulate standard documents, electronic document flow, and well, it is responsible for about 90% both of internal and external document flow. Digital employee company interaction. We have IC software, we have SAP. There are some subtleties here. We have quite a few of aged personnel. Not all of them use smartphones. We have special desks, and well, a person, an employee can approach there, and there is a 24-hour call center, and prepared to provide assistance. Now, as for the trucks, currently there are three trends. What autonomous driving, e-cars, and connected car. What is autonomous vehicle? The first stage, minus feet, then minus hands, then minus eyes, and then minus voice. In Kamaz, we're testing about 20 trucks. They're driving along the Moscow-St. Pete highway, but under the law, the driver is still in the cabin, and the last mile, that is also the responsibility of human being. We gathering information and data so that we can switch to the fourth stage. We also test these cars at open mines, well, but also a test stage. Now, monitoring. Connected vehicles, about 80,000 connected vehicles. We've been collecting data for over 3 years. Well, the distance traveled exceeds 40 billion kilometers. Well, about 300 signals are collected. We looked at combined Boeing, and for example, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, once an aircraft landed, the airplane issued 15 kilobyte information. Now the aircraft is connected through satellite link, and the information is fed continuously. There are plenty of sensors in a truck now. They provide services to this truck and give information to the driver and to the garage, etc., to the dealer. Remote diagnostics. The truck gives a signal that possibly such accessory will fail. Well, we've already made a call to the body shop, and well, the spare will be delivered to the next body shop or technical center, and this detail will be given to you. Or we say that just cut out the engine and stop and wait till the spare will be delivered to you. A new area, car as a service. We understand that added value obtained in production of cars, but the bulk of the added value is generated where the truck is used as a service. We created a national car as a national transporter, which will be one of the largest in the country. We're heavily investing in this project. Well, it embraces already about 1,000 cars. And well, about 10,000 cars are taken from outside sources. two new areas. This sharing is a special startup. We make a link between those car owners who do not use their vehicles now extensively, and we help them to release these cars to those operators who need extra cars. And a sort of shuttle, business shuttle, which is an intermediary between a taxi and the bus. It provides a better comfort level than an ordinary coach, but it is less expensive than a taxi. It is used in the new Moscow region and in Nabережный city town. This service is a better one than the standard coach and is much cheaper than the taxi service. It is also in demand. Well, our plans going forward. The truck is assembled by human being now. Later it will be assembled by robots. Then the robot assembles a robot. This is a new area which we explore in Kazan, and the finalist joke will try to avoid that the war of machines. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Really, you've provided a lot of interesting information. Indeed, it's very nice that we'll be able to see your production area, and the slides you demonstrated, well, clearly demonstrated that a client-centric approach is very important. Convenient workstations, how you deal with risks faced both by employees and cars. You've mentioned about the road map for the client's journey. You demonstrated how you work with cutting your transportation tax, how you address the environmental challenges, etc. About a huge truck without a driver, it seems challenging, but we do it. We have a very funny video where the chief designer stands in the way of the truck, and the truck seems to run over him but avoids it at the last moment. Dear friends, I thank all our speakers because we're approaching our lunchtime. I thank members of the working group, Yulia Vячеславовna, and I thank all colleagues and all guests of this forum who attended today's session. I'm sure that our communications were very important and interesting for you, and there will be some takeaways after this session, and we've engaged in a dialogue which is very important. With some more time for networking, I'm sure we'll be able to exchange further useful information, and we'll communicate both with tax authorities and with businesses. And we're rounding up our session, and all this time we had our colleagues from Tajikistan and Belarus who attended online. The registered participants of this forum were also some people from the financial university under the government of Russia and members of the working group. I kindly invite you to move to the area with banners for taking a picture in memory of this event. Thanks a lot to everybody, and have a good day.